So, what is the number one threat to astrology? Well, it's watered down astrology. And watered down astrology happens all over the internet. Watered down astrology takes away your power. There are four ways that people water down astrology. Those are generalizations, looking at a piece of the chart, meaning making, and outside forces. Let's actually look at examples. This first one, found online, is a gross generalization. How can you just put two signs together and say that they equal a breakup or they equal great lovemaking or they equal how could you do that? First of all, where in the chart even are they talking about? The signs are in their planets, their house cusps. Like this doesn't make any sense. So it's like this is a gross generalization and it takes away your power because if you look at that and you're like, wait a minute, the two signs that you and your partner are the ones that they're labeling as a breakup. I mean, it's like you might break up just because of this. It's a generalization. Maybe some of your best lessons are going to come from how those signs relate. Here's another one. This is looking at what they're considering a to-do list for a sign. But again, what are they talking about? Sun sign, moon sign, rising sign? And even then, within this, you're missing the whole chart. So this is also generalization is also a piece of the chart because they're missing the whole chart. Some of these things that relate to the sign, they might be if you start blending with the rest of the chart, it might be like not something that you would want to do for that particular energy. So here's another generalization. This one says this is the worst zodiac sign to catch feelings for. Maybe it's actually the zodiac sign that you have the most lessons with. Maybe it's a zodiac sign you have the most lessons with. The classic joke is, isn't it interesting how one bad relationship can ruin a whole sign? Yeah, I mean, it's a joke. It's not meant to be literal. This person's posting the worst sign to catch feelings for. It's probably the sign that this person would be able to get the biggest and most important lessons with. Here's an outside forces example. How does Mercury retrograde affect those who are born during Mercury retrograde? I actually think it's a really great question. In fact, I responded on this post and gave some empowering information. The reason why I put it here is because of this the word effect. There is no outside force that's there's no effect of it. There's a correspondence. There's a connection between what's within you and what's going on out in the world. It's just like if you're surfing a wave in the ocean, the wave isn't going to do anything to you. I mean, if you stand there and don't do anything, it can knock you over. But the idea is if you know how to ride the wave, then there's no effect. It's knowing what's your cycle. When would you like even if you're not even on a surfboard, but you're just standing in front of a wave and the wave comes, it's knowing when to jump so that the wave carries you as opposed to knocking you over. It's having that internal and external correspondence. I think this question's a really good question. Made a whole course on Mercury retrograde because I think there's a lot of misinformation in that topic alone. But I wanted to post it here because I think the idea of effect, it's like it is often a misunderstanding. Okay, let's look at another one. So here's another outside forces. Again, April astrological events that will affect you. I don't like, so they have effect, but they also put will. Wait a minute. This is also missing. This is also one that's not looking at the whole chart because really it's just a wave coming in if you have a placement in that area of the chart that that these particular transits are going to connect with, to have synastry with. You got to look at it that way. I mean, this is again gross generalizations. These are events to be aware of. Check your chart, to see if you have placements that make aspects to these particular transits, and then pay attention to those cycles. That's a way more empowering way to look at it. Again, gross generalization, and is saying that there's some sort of outside force in play here. This is outside forces and generalized. The five signs that will be most affected by the hybrid solar eclipse on April 30th. Look, they're again they're not specifying which placements. Is it sun? Is it moon? Is it rising? They're just talking about the signs themselves, and they're saying that because of this eclipse, these signs are what could be. First of all, you can have a wave come into your life as a result of a connection with a transit, no matter what. Like if you have a placement that makes an aspect to that transit, right? That can act as a wave. It can trigger something that you can then, have to write. So, like, just listing 5 of the signs. First of all, I mean, 5. Like, there's only 12, right? So you're saying a little bit less than half of them. I mean, it really would just make sense if you take the eclipse and wrap the actual exact moment of the eclipse around. So let's take a transit wheel and wrap it around your natal wheel, and then check for aspects and check for correspondence within the synastry, and then talk to the person about the connection between those energies and the connection natally. Here's one that looks at the piece of the chart and makes meaning. When it's like it says, when you like them, but then realize your moons square each other. Okay, hold on a second. Moons squaring each other in synastry is actually very powerful. It's not a bad thing. This is why I say these 4 ways of watering down astrology take away your power, because in a square, right? So what is a square? A square is going to be the same modality but a different element, right? So generally speaking, so what you're learning is you're learning how to move the energy through another element, and then together you're able to unlock the power that comes from that square. I mean, just this is, yeah, of course, in a relationship you're going to have some of your biggest lessons. So generally, when I do synastry readings, or relationship readings, and I look at the synastry and the composite of a couple, one time, many times, what you'll find is from an elements perspective, right? So let's say fire, earth, air, water. Maybe one partner is very strong fire and earth, and the other partner is very strong air and water. Then what it is together they're learning the other elements. Sometimes it's both people come in and they're like, we're both very strong fire and earth, and they have very little air and water together. And so what they're doing is they're learning together the other elements together, right? Instead of learning, so there's one is where it's like you're learning from the other person, and then the other path is you're actually learning the other side of the coin together. And so I can guide a couple through how to do that based on their charts. Moon square moon, perfectly fine. Let's look at the rest of the chart, right? That's why it says, piece of chart here, because they're just looking at that one piece. Moon square moon, very helpful. I've been in relationships where there would be an exact same placement, right? So some people, they manifest different partners with the same placement because they didn't get the lessons. And I was very conscious of this as I was dating until I found my girlfriend. And so I'm like, okay, wait a minute. If I'm still meeting the same person with, okay, similar placements, did I get all the lessons? And then the moment I knew that I got all the lessons, the next person that I found had the same placement. It's kind of funny. And I looked at it and I'm like, wait a minute, is this what's going on here? And then what I realized is, in talking with her, the lessons that I got from the other relationships were what I needed to be able to now bring it to a higher expression in the next relationship, in the relationship that I'm in. And in looking at her whole chart and looking at our synastry and our composite, told a totally different story. Because if I took the whole chart of each of the other relationships, it made a lot more sense. So this this is somebody is like, you like them, but the moon's no. You want to ask yourself, how can you actually tap into the empowerment of that placement? And that this is what I'm able to do in my synastry and composite relationship readings. Here's an example. This is 2 people. So this is somebody who took a Twitter thread, basically, and posted it, and there's the person who's then quoting this message and response, of 2 people. And so the first person says, wish I could just turn off Chiron sometimes, but still can't find the switch. Where is Chiron in your chart? The wounded healer, the point of the point of lifetime pain. Like, I don't even like the wounded healer, the wound of the soul. That is what, okay, Chiron. But the point of lifetime pain, and it says, tell me about your sorrow. Mine is in cancer, family, childhood trauma, emotional safety. Ouch. That's disempowering as it is. Then another person responded, I healed Chiron by turning him off in my chart settings. I mean, it's kind of funny, but I mean, like, what's going on here? And then if you look at the bottom, it's like, I'm going through Chiron, my Chiron squares natal Chiron, and he's talking about very, like, what, very difficult transit, basically. And it's like, Yeah, it's because you haven't done what Chiron says to do, which is if Chiron's the wounded healer, the wound of the soul, you're meant to go from the wounding to the healer, metaphorically. I mean, if you listen to people talk, it's so funny. I'll hear somebody a lot of times because I do a lot of entrepreneurial astrology, and I'll hear entrepreneurs. I'm like, what brought you into this business? And they'll be like, well, I went through this earlier on in my life, and it was a huge life-changing moment for me when I got over it. And now I just want to help people do that exact same thing. I'm like, "Hello, that's Chiron. That's bringing Chiron to the higher expression." It's like, "Okay, yeah, go look at where their Chiron is and then find the aspects to it, and I can help them figure out the next steps and do a bunch of different things with it." So I mean, you're not meant to be in the wound. You're meant to heal it and step into the healer aspect of the wounded healer. It's like a coin flip almost. It's like you're able to then do something with it, right? I mean, this is very disempowering. It's meaning making because they're just like, oh, because of this placement X Y Z. It's looking at just a piece of their chart. It's just looking at the Chiron, and it's blaming the Chiron placement. It's making their life. It's almost like it's almost you. I had a teacher once who said you can't be the victim of your own chart, and I absolutely love that because it's like you really you can't just go okay because no because hello you picked your chart coming in you picked your chart coming in to work to the life like so you're like oh well because of that no figure out how to be empowered. This is why I say that this type of stuff is just watered down. It's taking away your power because there's something to do with every single placement in your chart. There is not a bad placement in your chart at all. Not a bad placement at all. I'm very passionate about this topic and I'm just at a point where I'm like everybody who wants to just they post these things and then I get clients that are like how do I fix this or what do I do? I did a pro bono service. I was helping this person because she was going through a Saturn return and she was very upset. She was actually upset that it was coming, and then I actually looked at her chart and I'm like, lady, you're actually in it. I'm like, and it was a relationship Saturn return, and I was able to explain to her, look, with a Saturn return that hits prominent placements in the area of relationships in somebody's chart if you're in a relationship already, it either takes the relationship to the next level or it ends the relationship. But if it ends the relationship, it's because you're actually then able to get something that actually is what you want. And it can also start the energy of the next even better relationship. And I was able to guide her through some things that she then went, "Oh my gosh, this isn't really that bad at all." I'm like, "Saturn returns are not meant to be bad if you understand the lessons." Just like Chiron. Okay, so this one I was like, "Oh my gosh, what's going on here?" Okay, here's another one. Meaning making, generalization, looking at the piece of the chart. This is now looking at the house. I don't need to get into all the text that's written there, but he's basically saying, okay, the eighth house is your trauma. What trauma are you facing? What trauma do you face? And it's kind of like, no, 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 no. The eighth house is is meant for you to go into the depths, to rise above them, to take the lessons and transform. And then from those lessons, what are you then able to do? You're able to see it. You're able to take the scorpionic natural energy of the eighth house. You're able to transform. You're able to go through things that allow you to become even better, to tap into more of who you are, to tap into your power. And then the energy naturally wants to move into the ninth, the natural house of Sag, which then is like, okay, what's your purpose? What's your direction? Let's figure out the way we want to go now that we have this rebirth, basically. And then what happens? The energy moves from the ninth into the 10th, right? Which is the natural house of Capricorn. It's like, okay, let's put a plan together. Let's figure out what mountain we're climbing. Let's actually take steps in that direction, right? So you're not meant to be stuck there. You're not. I mean, come on now. Like this is ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, these types of posts. Anyway, okay. Here's one more. Opposite signs. Okay, I love aspects. I love oppositions. Right. I love the fact that they take the sign pairs here. I don't like the meaning that they're making. These are generalizations. Again, they're just looking at a piece of a chart. Aries creates chaos. Libra creates peace. I'm sorry, what? No, that's only if the Aries Libra axis is not harmonized in the chart. Like, come on now. This is ridiculous. Aries can initiate things. Aries is the individual. Libra can relate. Okay. it can bring peace. But if Aries is creating chaos and Libra is creating peace, the Aries Libra axis isn't harmonized in the chart. It's not. What the one other way of looking at it is the individual versus relating one-on-one. The individual versus relating one-on-one. How much of an individual is how much how aware of who the individual is prominent, and then how well is that individual able to relate it to another individual. Okay, I mean, all of these they all take they all they this is ridiculous. Like Taurus sees beauty, Scorpio sees ugliness. I'm sorry, no, 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 absolutely not. Taurus often related to beauty, sure, okay, because Venus rules Taurus, fine, but Scorpio sees ugly, no, it doesn't. Get the heck out of here. No, Scorpio, again, there's a rebirth aspect to it, right? It's the scorpion, the phoenix, and the eagle. If Taurus sees beauty and Scorpio sees ugliness in somebody's chart, their Taurus Scorpio axis is out of harmony. What happens here? Taurus is liking stability, liking structure. Scorpio may get in their own way, right? But they're learning, they're learning to actually be able to transform and figure out where that structure and where that stability is going to come from, right? Gemini is bored, Sagittarius is passionate. Okay, what? Again, like I don't really need to go through all six of these, I don't think, but maybe I will. I mean, Sag can be passionate, sure, but Gemini likes to move. It's mutable air. It's the most movement of energy from a element perspective that's in the chart. So it's only bored if it's not moving. Hello. So the idea of Gemini Sag, it's like this axis again out of harmony, right? We need to bring these axes into harmony. Cancer, uh, okay. Cancer brings us together. Capricorn takes us apart. I'm sorry. What? What? Capricorn work, structure, rules, planning. It creates, if done properly, can create a a space where the Cancer is able to express safely, right? So Capricorn is like building that safe haven that the Cancer can then express. The Cancerian energy can be released, can be navigated, right? Again, Cancer Capricorn axis out of harmony. All right. So bring it into harmony. Allow Capricorn to create that structure that allows Cancer to feel safe. Let's see. Leo shows us the heart. Aquarius shows us the mind. That's probably the closest to a normal, explanation. Okay, fine. Out of the rest of these, because that is very true, right? But what's often going on here is the end of the lower expression of this would have been like Leo about ego and Aquarius about the group. So it's like Aquarius cares about others and Leo only cares about themselves. Could have been a way that they might have written it from a lower expression perspective. Okay, Leo shows us the heart, Aquarius shows us the mind. That can be very true in a bit of a higher expression. Virgo restricts themselves. Pisces lets loose. Well, Scorpio can actually be very restrictive in many different ways. I mean, Virgo doesn't restrict. Virgo will overanalyze. Can also. So here's the thing: if Pisces likes to let loose and Pisces likes to move, and there's this kind of this freedom aspect of Pisces, any structure can feel restrictive to Pisces. So if I'm looking at this, and anybody like somebody tells me these things, I'm like, all right, well, they haven't harmonized to figure out where is that analysis that comes in with Virgo, right? So all of these combinations, there's something to do with them. Like this is just a gross generalization, makes meaning, only looks at a piece of the chart. They just completely watered down and just completely false, and it takes away your power. Because I can look at any placement, and I can tell you how to tap in to its power. In fact, to the untrained eye, all of these posts, they look helpful, but there are antidotes to the watered down posts. Instead of generalizing, there's something you can do. Instead of looking at a piece of the chart, there's something you can do. Instead of meaning making, there's something you could do. Instead of outside forces, there's something you could do. And I want to tell you all about it for free inside of a video called Astrology C.R.E.D, the 4 keys for unlocking your unique superpowers hidden in your natal chart. It is absolutely free. Just go to astrogps.io/C.R.E.D. And if you do have any questions or comments about this, please put them below. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe. As always, aloha, ahui ho. Go to astrogps.io/C.R.E.D. and I'll talk with you again soon. Take care.